Hello and welcome to another episode of the Classical Republican. Today we're talking about a very short piece written by Machiavelli towards the end of his life on the government of Florence. And so this is his final words on government and politics. So it's very interesting. It does show somewhat of a shift from the discourses, not a big shift, but somewhat less populist and slightly more elitist, something closer to what rather than what you saw in Florence to what you saw in Venice. So we start off. Oh, and I have to one caveat is that this has not been translated into English, and so this is my limited knowledge of Italian and Google Translate. So this is what I got out of it. You got the Signoria, and you have the 8 of practice, and they're kind of like the foreign policy element or council. And you have the 12 good men, and then you also have 65 other citizens who are elected to the body, and you have you have to be 45 years or older to be in this group, and you'll have 53 who are older and 12 who are younger. So it's kind of leaning towards the wisdom of older people. Of course, older men, because only men were involved in politics at this time. And then, that 65, one becomes a standard bearer of justice, so that brings it down to 64. And the rest divide themselves in half, and then they have sort of this rotation, this annual rotation where you serve for 1 year in the 32, and you are your full-time signoria. And then you have the other 32 who are kind of the assistants and helpers and kind of in training, because they'll switch, and the next year they'll have the deliberative job, and making all the decisions in government. You have the Council of 200, which is you have your 40 years and up. You have 160 people who are 160 men who are old and 40 who are young, and plus 65 who are appointed, and they altogether are the Council of the Chosen, and they're kind of a judiciary. Then you have what's basically, I don't think he calls it this, but it's a Grand Council, similar to what they have in Venice, and so they're the ones who elect all the officers. They elect everybody else, so very similar to what they have in Venice. But he says it's between 600 and 1,000, and I believe that in Venice it was always much larger, usually between 1,000 and 3,000. So, but not always. Not everybody was there. They weren't as strict on quorums in the old days, unfortunately. So you have, you have one group, all the other earlier bodies I mentioned who are deliberating and proposing, and then you have, or I guess proposing and deliberating, and then you have the Grand Council, which is deciding. So there's some, that's very classically Republican. You see that in Harrington's Oceana. And you have the Senate that proposes, deliberates, and then the Assembly, which actually makes the final decision. So those are Machiavelli's final proposals for a Constitution of Florence, and I hope you get something out of that. It does seem very classically Republican. So he was a true classical Republican to the end, despite what's written in the Prince. Until next time, long live the Republic.